Okay, and that's it. Rock into chapter 3. So 3.1, this is called measures of central tendency. Here's the main thing that we're looking for here. You most likely already know what all of these things are, but symbols are so important to us in statistics that I want to make sure that you have the symbols that go with this, all right? So both of these are a mean. And so when you say average, typically what you're talking about is the mean. So what do you, when I say, what is the average? What do you typically do? Yeah, add them up divided by the total. Boom, that's what this is. The key to this one is notice that there's a population and a sample. You literally find them exactly the same way, but the symbols are different. So this symbol is a Greek letter. It looks like a U, but it is pronounced M-E-W. It's mu. All right, that's what it is. So add the values, divide by the total. It's finding just like any kind of mean there is out there. Add up the values, divide by the total. I'll put a comma there. So that is what you're doing. So here is the symbols that go with it. So I have the mu here, or this mean, is equal to, this is sigma x sub I divided by capital N. Because it's a population, that's what makes it a capital N, right? So just like if you do anything with Excel, that capital sigma here, because there's a lowercase sigma also, but this is the capital of sigma. It's the symbol for sum. So capital sigma, oops, I put an extra S in there. Just sigma, it's not plural, is the symbol for sum. And this capital N is your population total. Right? Okay. So if I want a sample arithmetic mean, all right, it's that same type of situation here, except my symbol here is X bar. So it's called X bar. Is what you say. I'm going to put this in parentheses. I'm going to put this up here in parentheses so you know it's just a word. So you have X bar, and same thing, add up the values, divide by the total. Oops. I almost forgot the rest of my word. Divide by the total. All right. So X bar here is going to be, again, I'm summing it up, all of my data values, but I'm going to divide by lowercase n. Lowercase n is my sample total. So all of these variables that we have been using, they're coming back. That's what chapter 1 was all about, right? What are my variables? What do they mean? What is the vocab associated with it? We did a whole lot with vocabulary, and now we're going to be using that vocabulary, all right? So the key to this one is that you have this symbol of mu, that's your population, and you have this symbol of X bar, that is your sample mean. Those are here forever. So you have to know what that, anytime you see mu, you know that that's a population mean, and then X bar is the sample mean. Okay. So let's keep on keeping on, because this is good stuff, right? So if I'm going to have a median is capital M, is the variable that's typically used for median. And this is just the middle, median, middle. It's the middle. Now the key to this is it has to be of ordered data. So that's the key to this one. It has to be in order. So the median, but as long as they're in order, it can't just be the middle of just a random set. So it's literally the middle of something that's put in order. All right. And the mode here, there's no real symbol that goes with that. It's just the number that occurs most often. It's the number that occurs the most. All right, that's it. That's a mode. Mean, median, and mode. I'm confident that you've at least heard those words before. Mean is typically what you say when you say, what's the average? It's typically the mean. Now in statistics, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. What is a good accurate average? Because all of these are central tendency. So a lot of times a median can be determined as the average as well as your mean, as well as the mode. Mode is not as often whenever I'm looking at stuff, but it's still something that's important whenever I'm talking about data, all right, of what we're looking for there. Okay, so let's scoot this up and let's actually do an example here. So I've combined these examples 1, 3, and 8 because in your book, it does little parts of all of it. Let's just do it all together, right? We've got this. We're not concerned. So if we want to do, so here's our table of 10 students enrolled in intro stats, and we're going to treat these 10 students as a population. So the class is 10 students total, and here are their scores on the first test. So if we want to do the population mean, so the mean, remember, added up, divided by the total, but we're going to use your symbols. I want you to get used to using these symbols and what they represent. So this is a population mean, so we're going to use mu. That's how you say it, is mu. So I'm going to add all of these up. Now, here's the deal. You can do all this in your calculator. I'm going to write this down just because these are your notes and I want to make sure that you understand where these numbers come from. However, 84, 94, 88. 84, 94, I'm running in my deal. 88. Divide all of that because there are 10. And then add those up. So do that in your handy dandy calculator, right? So add all those numbers up. And you get 790 divided by 10. So 79. This is the mean test score. All right, so that's your mean test score. Now, this is the beauty of the video. Pause the video, do that yourself. Make sure you got the same number. All right, I just don't want you, sometimes we'll walk through all the steps and look at the calculator, but you know how to use your calculator. Add all those up, divide it by the total, boom, you should get 79. If you're not getting 79, send me an email, ask me in class. Okay, compute the sample mean of sample size 4 with this random sample here of number 5, number 10, number 2, and number 6. So those 4 students, Ryan, Jennifer, Dave, and Juan. All right, so what's the symbol for the sample mean then? That's your X bar. Good. So X bar is 77 plus 62 plus 68 plus 88. And now I'm going to divide it by the total in my sample, which is 4. Okay, so do all that on your handy dandy calculator and you should get 73.75. That is my sample mean test score based on that data. All right, now here's the deal. Look at this population mean. So your population mean is 79, your sample mean is 73. Are those exactly the same? No, they're not, right? But they're both in the 70s. And depending on the values that you pull from your random sample, that's why we make those conjectures. That's why we have the margin of error, which we'll talk more about as we progress through this course, but we barely talked a little bit about. All right. In this chapter 3, we're just kind of setting it up. So we're starting to do computations in chapter 3. So with these computations, then we're going to start working with those and seeing how it all plays out and help us to better understand statistics. All right, so let's get some tools in our toolbox kind of with these computations, and then we're going to start putting meaning to them. Okay, let's find the median. Now remember, the key to a median is it has to be in order. So you're going to look at all these values, start with the smallest, and then work your way up. So I think 62 here is my smallest. And then what's next? What do you see? 68. That's what I'm seeing. Then 71, 74, check me, make sure I'm doing this right, 77, 82, 82. Yep, I saw that 84 and it got me looking again, but 82, 84. 82, 84, and then I think 88 is the next one, right? And then I'm in my 90s, a 90 and a 94. Okay, now I have 10 pieces of data. I want the number in the middle. Well, I have an even number of data. So I've got 5 on this side and 5 on this side. So my median for this is actually between these two pieces of data. So my median is between that. So if I want to find something that's in the middle of two numbers, what do? Yeah, add them up, divide them by 2. Same thing that's going to happen here. You literally want the middle piece of data. If it's not one of your actual data pieces, then you still want to find the middle of all the data, that ordered data. So I'm going to take 77 plus 82, divide that by 2. Do that in your handy dandy calculator, and what do you get? 79.5. Now I'm going to make a quick reference here, but we're going to talk more about it later. Look at these two values. This is my mean. This is my median. Those are really close, right? That means, and we'll talk more about it, that this is very nicely dispersed data. If your mean and your median are looking the same, that's where that, remember how we talked about data distribution already? That's where that bell curve kind of comes in if your mean and your median line up. We'll talk more about that even in this section, but I just wanted you to see this data and plant that seed so you can start working with it. Okay, the beauty of looking at a mode right after you do the median scores is because when you lay these out, you'll see if there's any repeats. Are there any repeats in this? Nope. So that means there is no mode. If there's nothing that repeats, then you don't have a mode. All right, cool.